everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Goswick, your host. Today on the podcast, I chat with Michelle Petties, who is an author, a TEDx speaker, and a food addiction expert. Michelle very vulnerably shares her journey of how she got to be where she is today. And now she has an online coaching program to help people discover what the reason is why they're eating. It's not about the food. It's not about diets. It's not about eating plans so much sometimes. Sometimes it's about the emotions that are tied to the food that we eat. It's a very powerful story, and I know that she is encouraging people all over the world. I thank you for being here today. Hi.
Hey, Shara.
How are you?
I am fabulous. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you today. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, me too. I have been. I've been looking forward to it.
So I watched your TED Talk, and I actually watched part of it twice because there was some things I wanted to go back to because you said some very powerful things in your TED Talk that I made note of. I know that you are an author and a speaker and a food addiction expert. Why do you call yourself that? What is your story to get you to the point of where you are right now?
Yeah. So, I call myself a food addiction expert based on my lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I don't have a degree in food
Right,
addiction. I don't have any numbers behind my name, but
right.
what I do have is 40 years and 700 pounds of yo-yo dieting.
Wow.
I have is lose 30, gain 40, lose 40, gain 50.
Yeah.
Understand that intimately, and I know how to get beyond it. That's what that's what makes me an expert because I
Right.
figured it out. Yeah.
I've said this many times. No matter whatever I'm going through, if I'm going through something hard, I want to talk to somebody who's been through it and is on the other side. I don't want to talk to somebody just because they have a degree, just because they know the things. I want to talk to somebody that's lived through it. So I
Yes.
know that you have been a tremendous help to people because of that, because you've lived through all of this. One of the things that you said, you talked in your TED talk about, you looked up the definition of food, of what food really is. And one of the things that you said that stood out to me was that the only problem that food solves is hunger. We use it for so many other things, even if we're not, dealing with huge, weight loss and weight gain, we still use it for things that it's not used for. I know I eat when I don't need to, when I'm bored, because I'm
Hmm.
home and if I'm bored, and especially if we have junk, which I try not to keep, but I love to bake. And so if we have guests, there's stuff. And if they don't take it with them, it's here. And if I'm bored, that's what I'm going to do. But that's not what it's for. That's not what we should be using it for.
No, no. And I'm glad you zeroed in on that. Um, because there's so much of what I know about food and how we manage food or
Mhm.
mismanage food that I didn't know when I wrote my book and when I started this
Right.
journey. And I got to tell you something, Charlotte. When I started, I just wanted to wear cuter clothes. I mean,
Yeah.
it was you know
We
it
all
was
do.
it wasn't a health journey for me. You know,
Right.
I didn't have high blood pressure, right? I didn't have diabetes. I was probably pre-diabetic, right? But
Yeah.
kind of that pre,
Yeah.
right? I was at risk of stroke. All of that was coming.
Yeah.
All of that was coming. But in my mind, I was so disconnected from the health aspect of it. It was just about how I looked. And
Yeah.
I'll take it because it got me on the road. But
Right.
what I now understand after writing this book and doing this work and being deep into this research now 6 years later, that it was about saving my life.
Right.
It was about saving my life and now saving the lives of other people. And we don't always think about it because of the way food is marketed to us.
Yeah.
And when I say food, I'm talking about the processed food because
Right.
he because here's the distinction, right? Here's the distinction that wasn't able to make right away, is that just because they call it food doesn't make it food,
Exactly.
right? And if it's not nutrition and nourishing, it's not food.
Right.
It is a lab experiment.
Yeah.
And our brains do not treat it as nutrition and nourishment. Our brains treated as drugs.
Yeah.
And it lights up the neural pathways in our brains the same way.
Yeah.
And sugar, which is in, I don't want to say it's in everything, but it's in a bunch of stuff it doesn't need to be in. And it's in every,
Exactly.
and it's, the research tells us that it is more addictive than cocaine.
Yeah.
It is in everything. And it is not even food. It is just a highly addictive substance that breaks down the body.
Yeah.
It is a highly addictive substance that we have been trained and marketed to consume and treat as pleasure and entertainment and joy and
Right.
specialness and celebration, all by the marketers who do not care anything about our life or our health. And
Right.
we get duped and we get confused and we think wrong is right. And
Yeah.
we're suffering for it.
We are. Absolutely. So you said earlier, and I listened in your talk about how you had gained and lost over 700 pounds. What was the turning point or the last diet or eating plan or whatever it was to get you to keep the weight off? What
Yeah.
was that?
Yeah. So, you know, there there is not one thing that causes us to gain extra weight.
Mhm.
Now, there's not one thing, it's a multitude of things.
Right.
And it is a multitude of things that get us on the path to health.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I share and I teach and I coach around is this, is that, you know, we see this, we see our bodies, right? We see people with extra weight. And what we see is just people that have not figured out how to handle the internal stuff that's going on,
Yeah.
and they're using food for it. I mean, it's a skill. It's a skill issue. I mean, it's not a moral. It's not a moral problem. It's not. It's a fundamental understanding of not having having the skill to manage something in a different way other than food.
Right.
What I really have to zero in on is this: is before we gain any extra weight in our bodies, me or anybody else, we gain it in our heads first.
Mm.
And if we gain it in our heads first, that means we have to lose it the same way.
Hmm.
What it means is that this is not an eating disorder. It's the problem is not with food, it's
Right.
with my thoughts about food.
Yeah.
And this culture keeps us thinking that it's about the food. But as soon as you make the shift and learn to make the shift that is your thinking, that is your thoughts about the food, and we
Yeah.
have full control over our thoughts and our thinking,
Hmm.
then we can change how we manage food once we realize how we're being manipulated.
Yeah.
We get clear on that, because our talk was about clarity.
Right.
Once we get clear on how we're being, when we have awareness, when we have consciousness, when we
Right.
get that, then we can make the shift. So the turning point for me was this. All of that to say,
Yeah.
I had had a meltdown, right? I'd had a meltdown at a business function, and I had lost some weight with the support of multiple rounds of liposuction, way too many. I wouldn't advise it to anybody, but I
Right.
wouldn't advise anybody, but that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I had said to myself, if I can just get this fat, and I use the word fat, I know people don't like to use that word, but if I can just get this fat sucked out, I can keep it off. I said that.
Yeah.
And I thought that I could. And I
Yeah.
did okay for a little while, just like I did in the past. But then the weight, this foreign outside thing outside of me, what I thought was outside of me, started to come back.
Mm.
It started to come back. And I was troubled by it because that 14, what I call a black woman's 10, that 14 was starting to get too tight. It was a 16. I was trying to, I was really a 16, but I was squeezing into a 14 and not looking really good. And I went to this conference and I ate way too much pizza. I ate way, and in my book it's called the Pizzagate Breakdown, because I live outside of Washington D.C. trying to create it. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Watergate, but it's called Pizzagate. It's
Right.
called break down. But I ate way too much pizza in way too short a period of time, and I knew something was wrong. I left
Yeah.
that conference and I went to my doctor and I was like, please help me, help me, help me. And
Yeah.
she had a program for me. And I knew I could stick to the program, Shara, because I had done it many times before. I had been
Right.
to a program for 40 years. I mean, that was an issue.
Right.
But she said to me, here, follow this plan, take these shots, you'll lose the weight, you will not be hungry. Okay, got it. And it went on for a while, and I was losing the weight. I was doing good, going in, getting my shots, following the program. And then there came a time when I wanted to eat. And I asked myself, why do I want to eat? And I was 60 years old. I had never asked myself that question in my life. Why do I want to eat right now?
Right.
Why do I want to eat? Because the doctor had said, follow this
Yeah.
program, follow this plan, you won't be hungry, right? So I wasn't, but I wanted to eat. And as I sat there with this question, which I
Mm.
had never done before, I'd never sat in the discomfort of a moment to think about, to give myself pause, what is going on right now, to tap
Right.
into that. Nobody taught me how to do that, right? Even thousands of hours of therapy, thousands of
Sure.
dollars in therapy, I wasn't taught how to do that.
Yeah.
And this story bubbled up, and we talked a little bit earlier about my being from Texas, and I grew up in Texas. I grew up in the South. I grew up on a farm. My grandparents were farmers, and there in a couple years, like quite some years back, was the '90s, right? I was on my uncle's farm. My uncle, was a retired merchant seaman, so
Hmm.
he had been all over the world, right?
Sure.
Did everything in the world, and and whatever I thought a sophisticated uncle was, he was that, right? But we're on
Hmm.
this farm. He's retired now, and we're having a family cookout barbecue going on, and we bring out the watermelon. Black people watermelon, big surprise. So we do that.
I love watermelon.
Welcome to the club, right?
Yeah.
And so did we, except for
Yeah.
my uncle. And I'm
Yeah.
like, do you want some of this? He said, no, I don't eat watermelon. And I'm like, why? Don't you like it? Don't you like
Yeah.
it? Want some later? He's like, no. And he said, no, I just don't eat it. Well, there's got to be a reason that you
Right.
just eat it or you're allergic. I mean, that's what we go through. And he just kept saying, I just don't eat it. I just don't eat it. And I wore him down. Finally, he broke down and he told me that when he was a kid, now this conversation was happening in the 1990s. He was a
Yeah.
kid in the 1930s. That's 60 years, right?
Yeah.
Um, when he was a kid in Marshall, Texas, growing up in the segregated South at that time, um, he and some buddies decided to steal a watermelon. And when his father, who was my grandfather, found out about it, my grandfather wasn't happy. Two things about my grandfather: my grandfather was a railroad worker, and my grandfather was a church trustee.
Mm.
Yeah, the one person that a kid that just stole a watermelon does not want to meet is the one person
Right.
who fits those identities.
Yeah.
So when my grandfather found out about it, he beat my uncle.
Yeah.
He beat him. He beat him so severely
Mm.
that he never ate watermelon again. As I heard him tell me that story, I got sad. I mean, it's just this unbelievable sadness came over me. But I still had this question. I had, I was close in the '90s, but I didn't know it because I was
Yeah.
like, Billy, do you think maybe the lesson was supposed to be, thou shalt not steal?
Exactly.
Was that supposed to be the lesson? And my uncle just looked at me and said, I don't eat watermelon.
Mm.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Is that, as that story bubbled up, this wave of awareness also bubbled up. And I said, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is what it means. This is what it is. My uncle could not eat watermelon because of the painful
Right.
memory event experience that he associated with it. He could not separate the watermelon from the feeling that it created in his
Mm.
body. Right? He couldn't separate it. It was
Yeah.
the same thing. The pain, the trauma, and the watermelon were all the same thing to him.
Sure.
And as I that memory came up, I said, "Oh my God!" Then opposite must be true for me in the
Yeah.
way that I handle food. That all the sweet stuff, right? All the stuff that I overeat, I am attaching it to a memory that is so pleasurable, that's so enjoyable, that is
Mhm.
so meaningful that I keep wanting to relive it for the food. I think I want the food, but what I want is the pleasure that I associate with the food because of the
Sure.
memory.
Yeah.
And when that became crystal clear to me, every I in my life I have a life before the watermelon story and life
Yeah.
after the watermelon story,
Yeah.
because that clarity
Yeah.
shifted everything in my life, and it is the foundation of my teaching. It is what makes me an
Sure.
expert. It is how I teach transformation, because
Yeah.
once you are clear, once you understand that it is not the food, it is the feeling, and
Hmm.
once you're able to examine the feeling, whatever the feeling is, once you're able to pick it apart, once you're able to write about it, once you're able to understand where it comes from, once you're able to understand what to do with it and you aren't afraid of that, then
Yeah.
that gives you freedom around food. That gives you the freedom to be able to deal with whatever it gives you the freedom to be successful on whatever diet plan you choose, because
Sure.
people do keto, they do Atkins, they do Mediterranean, they do all these things, Weight Watchers, they do them all the time, and they cannot stick to them.
Yeah.
They do it for a day, 2 days, an hour, three, whatever, or they go back and they stop and they gain. It is because they have not been able to identify the stories that are the blocks.
Right.
You're able to identify the story that is the block and rewrite it.
Yeah.
Not just identify it, but rewrite what it means,
Right.
have it mean something different. Then
Yeah.
you can manage on a different level.
That's so good. That was so powerful on your talk. And I think this is not just for people who, I don't want anybody to listen and think, oh, well, this is just for people who need to lose, 100 pounds or what. This is for anybody.
All of this that we are doing, this
Yeah.
shifting of belief, this changing of mindset, this new understanding about the real purpose of food, it is new learning.
Right.
And you have to give yourself opportunity to learn, because sometimes the only way to learn the lesson is to fail. I
Yeah.
mean, earlier you spoke earlier. You said you have grown children. Your children are grown. I don't have any children, but what I do know about children is that they don't come out the womb walking.
That's right.
They walking.
Yeah.
They learn how to sit up, but before they learn how to sit up, they fall over a couple of
Yeah.
times, right? They fall over a couple of
That's
times
right.
before they walk, before they take those little baby steps. They fall on their pamper a couple of times.
Yep.
But here's the thing that I love about watching children, and why I use children so much in this process of transformation,
Hmm.
is that when babies are learning how to walk and they're crawling, all they see is the thing that they want to do, which is do the
Yeah.
thing that the walking people are doing. They don't even have words for it. They don't even know it's walking. They just
Yeah.
know that they want to do that thing. They want to do that thing that is going to give them freedom, that's going to give them
Right.
access, right? They know they want to do that. And they stay single-mindedly focused on that.
Yeah.
But when we as adults, at some point, we lose that ability to stay single-mindedly focused on our health and our life, and what we want our bodies to look like, how we want our brains to function. We get distracted. We don't
Yeah.
stay single-minded. But the babies, they're just tracking the walking people. And they
Hmm.
stand up and they take off walking and they fall on their little pamper and they cry. Because it kind of like surprises them. Surprise,
Yeah.
right? Right. They cried for a little while, got
Right.
right back up, focused on the walking people.
Yeah.
But when we're trying to lose weight, right? Oh, I made a mistake. Then you beat yourself up. Then you don't try anymore. Then you just give up the whole day. You give up the whole week. You wait a year. You wait. I mean, you feel so disillusioned, right?
Right.
And feel like you don't have any willpower, any self control, you don't have any of that. But what you don't have is focus, right?
Right.
Because if you got the focus and the imagination to do what the walking people are doing, right? Right,
Yeah.
then you stay. Oh yeah, that was just a slip. I'm back on track right now. I can
Sure.
stop in the middle of this bite.
That's right.
if I recognize and think that this is poison, that this is not going to serve my body, it is not going to honor where I want to go with my health, I
Yeah.
can take a bite and then I can throw it away because I know it is not what I want.
Right.
But if I have a belief that we don't throw away food, right?
Yeah.
Right. But,
Yeah.
but if I think it's poison, I can throw it away.
One person that is the most difficult to offer grace to is ourselves. You talked about giving yourself some grace. We are the hardest people to give it and receive it. I mean, we just are. It would be so much easier for me to offer grace to you than it would be to myself.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? And we need to.
Yes.
We need to. We're not perfect. We're not going to be perfect. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
if somebody was interested in having you coach them, tell me kind of how your program works. What exactly do you do?
Sure. Sure. So my program is a program of transformation.
I
It
believe
is,
it.
yeah, it is a weight loss program, but that's not what I focus on. The
Right.
the the weight loss is a byproduct of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And it is 52 weeks long.
Yeah.
It is 52 weeks and it is every day.
That's awesome.
And it is 52 weeks and it is every day. It is the reason it is every day is because we are assaulted
Mm-hmm.
every day by this toxic food environment, by toxic situations, by people, by situations that we do not know how to handle, and we need
Right.
support. And we need more good stuff poured into us every day to push
Sure.
out the bad habits, the stuff that we need to unlearn. So it's
Yeah.
every day. So here's how it works.
Okay.
It is built around this framework that I call brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called brand new because it takes a brand new way of thinking
Right.
in order to have a brand new way of being.
Yeah.
And it's brand new. So I start with belief. I don't start with a diet. I don't start with a plan, a pill, a program, and anything. I start with your thinking. Begin and believe. You've got to start there, not with the
Right.
carrots, not with the salad, not with that, but with your belief system,
Yeah.
with the belief and the expectation and the desire that the health and the life that you want, that you deserve, is
Right.
for you. The second step is rise up and reinvent. You know, we talked about, right, the stories.
Yeah.
So all these limit, and that's how the stories are. They're just these limiting beliefs that we have that keep us in a
Mm-hmm.
place. So we have to pull them up, look at them, rise up above them, and create new ones. So
Right.
this is like a rise up and reinvent. Um, the third principle is alignment and accountability. That's why
Yeah.
we do it every day. We do it
Yeah.
every day with a partner. So I give everybody in my program writing prompts because
Mm.
this is really a writing program. And
Yeah.
it is a writing program because what I'm teaching you to do, I don't help you. I teach you to rewire your brain and your thoughts
Right.
around why you eat what you eat. So
Yeah.
writing is critical to that, and
Yeah.
being in partnership with someone that you can give grace to and someone that can give you grace every day, right? Because
Yeah.
we're not used to it. So when you start to give it, when you start to give it, when you start to get it, it becomes a circle and you can kind of lean
Sure.
in. The next principle is nutrition and nourishment.
Okay.
Now while I don't give somebody a plan and say eat this or not that,
Yeah.
I I will say here are all these foods. Guess what's in them?
Yeah.
Do you want that in your body?
Right.
Do you want the effects of what sugar does to your body? Do you want the
Yeah.
effects of what processed food does to your body, what processed flour does to your body? Do you want the effects of what the unhealthy oils do to your body?
Mm.
Do you know about the mycotoxins in corn? I grew up on a
Right.
farm in Texas in the 60s. The corn today is not that same corn.
Right. Right.
So no. So it's your choice to eat it, but know what you're choosing.
Yeah.
So
We have this is our fourth, I think, year to do a garden, and it kind of gets bigger every year. And the more we do it, the more thankful that I am because we have corn growing right now. We've got potatoes and all the things, and I'm very thankful because I know what I'm eating. I know what's in it. And I
yes,
learned in October, I started making sourdough bread. I make my own bread. I've not bought a loaf of bread since I started doing that. And I'm so thankful that I'm able to do that. And I know not everybody can, not everybody wants to, or not everybody will. It's a lot of work.
Mhm.
But I totally understand what you're saying. And
Yeah.
we get in a routine and we go get food, we go get things to eat, and we don't pay attention a lot of times to what we're putting in our bodies. And um, I think what you're doing is so important. And, I'm always looking for people that are doing or helping others in unique ways. And this is unique, but it's really powerful because we're all eating every day,
Yeah.
all day
Yes.
long. Everybody's doing it. This is not a certain group of people. This is everybody. You know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
what you're doing is so, excuse me, so important.
Every 2 months, I do a free online retreat.
Okay.
It is 8 days, mind over meals.
Okay.
And for 8 days, anybody that comes to that retreat gets to spend an hour with me,
Oh,
and we
wow.
go through all these principles.
Yeah.
And I have a free workbook, and it
That's
is called
awesome.
Mind Over Meals: 7 Secrets to Rewire Your Brain for Healthy Eating. If
Okay.
you I I want everybody to have this. You can take that workbook and
Sure.
change your life. I take you through all the 8 principles, right? From
Yeah.
nutrition, then is drink, sleep, and right. I'm gonna finish those. I
Yeah.
won't do the full explanation. That's what the D is. Then
Yeah.
N is no is the new yes. And then the
Okay.
E in new is evaluate, ask, and think. That's always be questioning. I teach
Right.
people a question to ask about food. Is it health? First of all, is it healthy? Right?
Yeah.
Is it safe? Is it really food?
Right.
Why am I eating this right now? You can go to those questions right now. If you don't do anything but start asking yourself those questions before everything you eat, you can start making a shift. And then
Right.
once you go through all those principles, you end up with W. And you just say, wow, look how far I've come. Look
Yeah.
how much I've changed. And then you go back through it again. You keep going through being brand new, and you keep leveling up as you continue to cycle through it. Well, that
Yeah.
you can do that in that free workbook. And in the workbook, what you get the visualizations, you get the
Mhm.
affirmations, you get the meditations, and you get the writing prompts. Those
Yeah.
are the 4 secret weapons to rewiring your brain against the toxicity that
Yeah.
exists in this environment. Because the first thing we have to do is take our brains back.
Right.
We have to take our brains back in the face of social media, in the face of advertising, in the the advertisers know more about our brain than we do.
Right.
I mean, they
No,
if you
but yeah, I agree.
they spend billions of dollars to get us hooked and keep us hooked. They
Yeah.
spend money on the crunch, on the recipe, on the
Mhm.
formulation, the color, the
Yeah.
size, the everything. And we don't know it. We're unsuspecting, right?
Hmm.
We are so trusting.
Right.
We're so trusting. So the first thing I would say is you can download that free PDF. You
Yeah.
can come to the Mind Over Meals retreat, which is free. I do a weekly coaching session
Okay.
for emotional overeaters every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
If you're part of my Facebook group, it's
Okay.
Women Losing Weight Together.
Okay.
You can come and join that Facebook group.
Yeah.
It is a sacred space. People talk about their victories. People talk about their challenges.
Yeah.
We meet there for an hour, just
Wow.
talking about that. So there. I want to help people, as many people as I can,
Yeah.
wherever they are.
Yeah.
So those resources, if somebody says, I want some more support, I want deeper support, then yeah, join the 52-week program
Sure.
and watch your life change. If you want to, if I do this I have this other thing which I call is a personal visualization consultation.
Hmm.
And what the personal visualization consultation is that I work with a client to find out what their story is.
Yeah.
Right? Because we all have multiple stories, but
Oh, yeah.
let's have this one thing that is like the biggest issue for us.
Yeah.
So with this consultation, I help people uncover what the big story is. And
Yeah.
then as a result of uncovering that big story, I create personal affirmation and visualization for them to use themselves. I write it, I record it.
Okay.
They can listen to it every day,
Yeah.
work every day, and just rewire their thinking around that one issue, which gives them the muscle to start
Yeah.
rewiring their thinking around other issues. And that's, that's a nominal fee. But it
Sure.
is something that is personalized for
Right.
the situation.
Those are all so good. You know, I think that a lot of people feel like you said earlier, it's so overwhelming. This is going to be too hard. It's going to take too long. And it may take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. But even just those little steps in the right direction are going to make such a huge difference. And so I love how you are encouraging people and what you're doing. I think it's powerful.
Yeah, this last thing that you said about the little steps,
Yeah.
how important the one step and the little steps are.
Mm.
Um, Again, I'm gonna pull on the fact that I grew up in the South. I grew up in the
Yeah.
South with my grandparents, and I grew up with a grandmother who told me to pick up pennies. Now, this was the 60s, but
Mm-hmm.
it's 2025, and I still pick up pennies off the ground.
Yeah.
And I pick up the pennies because in that lesson, my grandmother was teaching me something. Because she said pennies make nickels, nickels make dimes, dimes
That's
make
right.
quarters, make dollars. And
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that would see a dollar on the ground and not pick it up.
Right.
But in order for that dollar to happen, there had to be some pennies.
Sure.
It is the same thing when I'm coaching people because, I'll get, oh, I only lost a pound. And I'm
It's
like,
the
what?
pound.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We got to celebrate that pound. We have to love that pound, that
Sure.
one step. And you can't get to 50 pounds without getting to one,
That's right.
most important one. So we love on it, we celebrate it,
That's awesome.
because that feeling, that joy is
Yeah.
what moves you to pound number two. Being
Right.
able to capture that feeling, right? But I forgot to tell you my book. So
Yes, your book.
if somebody's
Yes.
interested, they can go to leavinglarge.com,
Okay.
leave, leavinglarge.com and get the book. It's on Amazon, but if you go to leavinglarge.com, you can get it from me. I'll sign it
Oh,
and I'll
awesome.
I'll send it out. It'll go
Sure.
to the rest of
Tell me what your book is about.
the book includes that watermelon story. Uh,
Yes.
that is the first story in the book, but the book is a book of what I call food stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all of them, but most of the stories that where I got it wrong.
Yeah.
I got it wrong. The thing that made me think food was a cure for boredom, that it was a
Yeah.
cure for sadness, that it was celebration, where I got the wires
Yeah.
crossed up, right? So I go back and I tell the story of those events
Yeah.
and how you can rewrite them.
That's awesome. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for talking to me today, for being a guest. I'm excited to share this with everybody.
I love this. I love this whole notion of life stories and that you are holding space for conversations like this and you have this platform. It is good work. It's
Well,
important work.
thank you very much. I love it. I love what I get to do. It's perfect. It's wonderful. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. All
Thank
righty.
you, Michelle. Okay.
Okay.
Bye bye.
All right. Reach out anytime.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.